your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast with Tony Marinaro.
55 seconds left in the penalty, a minute and 27 seconds left in regulation time. Boston 4, Montreal 3. Lafleur coming out rather gingerly on the right side. He gives it into Lemaire, back to Lafleur. Oh!
The sickest Montreal Canadiens podcast.
You're in the fall!
Sports entertainment like no other.
Rejoint, on lui fait perdre la rondelle, une passe devant. Et c'est le dégagement et ce sera la victoire des Canadiens. Coupe Stanley pour les Canadiens. Le 23e de l'histoire.
You found the dogs! John, you found the dogs! He found the dogs! And all together, they worked a young team to the top. And now, a 24th Stanley Cup banner will hang from the rafters of the famous Forum in Montreal. The Canadiens win the Stanley Cup.
Brought to you by Energy Transportation Group. Driven to be different. 8.6 beer. Intense by nature. And Locage. If the last time you went to Locage was when the Habs won the Cup, it's time you went back to Locage. It's gonna be sick.
Marinaro, the Sick Podcast, and what a way to start off the season. Even though I'm a big fan of the rebuild, any chance you have to stick it to Toronto, you give it to them. The Toronto Maple Leafs come into this season, of course, with high expectations. We can't even remember when was the last time they actually won a first round, but a lot of pressure on general manager Kyle Dubas, who's in the final year of his contract, his coach, Sheldon Keefe, Brendan Shanahan, pretty much everyone in the Toronto Maple Leafs organization. Will this group led by Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner and John Tavares and William Nylander and Morgan Riley, will they be able to get it done come the month of April, the month of May, and the month of June? One thing I can tell you, they weren't able to get it done in game one of the 2022-2023 regular season in the Montreal Canadiens home opener. The Canadiens beat the Toronto Maple Leafs by a score of 4-3. As I told Jean-Charles Lajoie earlier tonight on GC on TVA Sport, it seems like more often than not, when the Canadiens and the Leafs play each other, the games end up being a score of 4-3, and the Canadiens end up winning most of them. It just seems that way. That's what I told them at around 5:30 p.m. earlier tonight, and I was right. Man, it's so easy to bet against Toronto, I'm telling you. Well, listen, I got to tell you something. Win, lose, no matter. We all know that. Kent Hughes even told us earlier today, right now, it's about progressing. It's about building a culture. It's about building work habits. It's about a system or style of play. It's about an identity. It's about a philosophy. It's about development. It's not about burning young players. And that's why Juraj Slafkovsky didn't get too much tonight. He got 10 minutes and 34. Why? Because they didn't deem that he was ready to get more than that. They did deem that Caden Guhle was able to get a lot. Are you ready for this? He led everyone with 22 minutes and 34 seconds of ice time tonight, 3:43 of which was on the penalty kill. Caden Guhle is unbelievable. Now, one game doesn't make a season, but, you know, everyone has seen this kid play junior hockey, play with Canada at the World Juniors, saw he was captain, know he's a leader. This guy plays with calm. He plays with poise. He's a seasoned veteran, but he's young. But he plays like a seasoned veteran. Shouldn't call him he plays like a seasoned veteran. He's not he's a general on defense. I mean, look, I'm not going to make a comparison, but because it gets people all excited, I'm going to tell you right now, he kind of reminded me of a young Larry Robinson tonight. It was unbelievable. He just was a general on defense. It was awesome to see. What a game. This is what I've been asking for the longest time. Win, lose, give me entertainment. Give me goals. We saw 7 of them tonight. Give me lead changes. We saw that as well. Give me goal scoring. Give me snipes. Give me all of that. Less than a minute into the game, Arbor Jackeye says, Hey, Alex Kerfoot. Nice to meet you. I'm Arbor Jackeye. Hits him to the ice. 90 seconds in, we saw something that we didn't see a lot of last season and something that we haven't seen in previous seasons. And that was Malgin taking a swipe at Jake Allen, and he gets a visit by Kovacevic, which is the real way to say it, and Dvorak. And that was the Canadiens 90 seconds in saying, this season, we're going to respect each other. We're going to respect our goalie. We're going to respect everyone. And if you're going to do something stupid, you're going to receive a visit from us. And they paid a visit. And you didn't see Toronto doing anything stupid the rest of the night. It was pretty awesome to see. It's the Sick Podcast. And it's brought to you by several of our sponsors, including Energy Transportation Group, which is a leading full-service logistics provider serving all of North America, driven to be different, Mike Cinquino and Sean Gerard. And it's fitting that they're on board, because what I want is I want the Canadiens to play with passion and energy. That's been one of the keys to my success, if you want to call, working in sports radio and television 20 years success. I think it is, I think I did pretty good for myself. It's passion and it's energy. And the thing is that you can't fake that stuff. So everyone knows that passion is key, that energy is key, that, personality is key. But if you don't have it and you try and fake it, you're not going to sound very good. Luckily, I have it. You know what the cool thing was? Is that both teams played with passion and energy tonight. And the reason why the Canadiens won is because I think the Canadiens played with a little bit more passion and a little bit more energy. Oh, yeah, that. And Toronto plays so stupid in their own zone, and they just don't back check. They give up a lot of 2-on-1s. They give up a lot of 3-on-2s. They panic with the puck in their own zone. They make really bad decisions, and they kind of give the game to the other team. Also brought to you by 8.6 Beer, intense by nature. The Canadiens, by the way, are allowed to have a beer after the game here. The beer for those who follow their instinct and live their passions in order to make their mark. And La Cage. If the last time you went to La Cage was when the Habs won the Cup, it's time you go back to La Cage. The menu will surprise you. You think the Canadiens surprised the Toronto Maple Leafs? Toronto probably thought the Canadiens were that 0-8 team in preseason. And listen, it didn't matter what happened in preseason. And I'm not telling you the Canadiens are going to make the playoffs, because I don't think the Canadiens are going to make the playoffs. As a matter of fact, I think the Canadiens are going to be one of the bottom teams. They're going to do better than they did a year ago. I've been asked about that, and I said, yes, they're going to pick up more points than they did a year ago. They're going to play better than they did a year ago. They're going to be more exciting than they were a year ago. You're going to see more goals than they scored a year ago. Speaking of which, 2 goals by Cole Caulfield. And TV Sport, who was broadcasting the game, brought up a little chart. Do you know that Cole Caulfield, since Marty St. Louis took over as Montreal Canadiens coach, Cole Caulfield has scored the 4th most goals in the entire National Hockey League. The 4th. Austin Matthews, since Marty St. Louis took over as Canadiens coach, scored 29 goals. Kirill Kaprizov of the Wild scored 28. Elias Lindholm scored 26. And Cole Caulfield has scored 24. I'll get to Caulfield now, because Monahan finds Caulfield in period number 1, and there's a big glove save by Matt Murray. But you just knew that it was going to come at some point for Caulfield. Marner spins off of Anderson. He goes behind the net. No one follows. Bunting pushes off Anderson. Marner to Bunting, and it's 1-0 for Toronto. Less than 20 seconds to go in period number 1. Suzuki to Caulfield, and he uncharacteristically misses the net. In period number 2, 33 seconds in, 2-on-1, Suzuki to Caulfield. He makes no mistake. He goes upstairs. It's tied at 1. Later on, there's a turnover by Suzuki, also uncharacteristic turnover by him, and an uncharacteristic read, because as he's getting back, he just goes behind the net. Jack-Eye can't tie up. There's a pass to Malgin, who's in alone, and he puts Toronto up by a score of 2-1. But the Canadiens come back with a 3-on-2, Caulfield down the right wing, and he shoots up and over Murray. He ties it at 2. And then there was a pass that made its way behind Arbor Jack-Eye, who I thought, looked like a young player in the National Hockey League. His positioning was a little bit off. He got caught a couple of times, but he did come up real big on a penalty kill, which I'm going to get to in a second. Anyway, he hooks Kerfoot. There's a penalty shot. He tries to go blocker side, and Jake Allen makes the save. So they're tied at 2 after 2. And in period number 3, with about 6 minutes to go in regulation, Jordan Harris gets penalized for high sticking. Toronto goes on the power play, and Kovacevic and Jack-Eye were a defense pair on the penalty kill, and they were absolutely colossal. As they say en beau français, colossal, grandiose, they were. And you know what? I think we might see Kovacevic and Arbor Jack-Eye blocking shots and killing penalties for the Canadiens a lot this season. Anyway, they're able to kill it off. And then later on, Dak goes to Harris at the blue line. And Anderson's in front of the net. Harris's shot goes off, I believe, a Maple Leafs player's skate. It goes right to Sean Monahan. And in his first regular season game with the Montreal Canadiens, he pots it home in what looked like to be the game-winning goal, because it came late in period number 3 for Monahan with 2.5 minutes to go in regulation. But there was a turnover, and this time it's a 2-on-1 for the Toronto Maple Leafs. It's Tavares to Nylander, and he makes no mistake. He beats Jake Allen. He ties it at 3. The Canadiens were reviewing that one for a while. They were taking a look. They actually weren't even sure if it was offside or not, so they called the timeout to give themselves extra time. As it stood, they did not contest at all. No coach's challenge. They saw that it was good. It was. And just when it looked like this game was going to go to overtime and we were going to get 3-on-3, Jake Muzzin with a terrible giveaway to Suzuki, who finds Josh Anderson, and Josh Anderson scores the game-winning goal with, 19 seconds left in regulation. The Canadiens win by a score of 4-3. It was the home opener, of course, at the Bell Center, and the biggest ovation on the night came for a player who wasn't playing. Listen to the Carey Price ovation. Came out with the cowboy hat. I'm telling you, we haven't seen Carey Price like this close to the fans. He went over to some fans who were right beside him, shaking their hands, high-fiving and stuff like that. It was something beautiful to see. You can tell the fans, of course, miss Carey Price, and they appreciate the 15 years that Carey Price had with the Montreal Canadiens. Of course, most people seem to think it's over. He said earlier today that, even when he walks, he has pain. And so he wants to be able one day to go on the ice with his kids. And so it's kind of like his way of saying that if coming back is going to compromise his regular life, his life after hockey, well, then it's just not going to happen. It was a beautiful ovation. Montreal Canadiens head coach Marty St. Louis got a real nice ovation as well. You could tell that he was really touched by it, by the way. And for the first time ever in a regular season game, Nick Suzuki was wearing the C for the Montreal Canadiens. And take a look at that. He came out with the torch after all the players were introduced. Also, a real nice ovation for Juraj Slafkovsky. Not a great ovation for Mike Hoffman or Evgeny Dadonov. I think it's the fans' way of saying, hey, guys, Mike, you could have brought more last season. And Mike, so far in preseason, you could have brought more. And Dadonov, you too. We're not going to let you off the hook. We want something from you guys. Give us a little offense because you're not going to get cheers. They didn't get much of them tonight. Kind of felt bad for them in a way, but I'm sure they'll feel better about the entire situation every 18 days when you get paid in the National Hockey League. I'm Marinaro. Sick Media and myself have brought you a podcast that is different than a lot of other podcasts out there. we have been, for the most part, in the last year, in regards to ratings, the number one Montreal Canadiens podcast. If you take a look at all of them that are out there and take a look at the ratings on a daily basis, we are number one, and we intend to stay that way. We wouldn't mind being number one overall in all categories. It's a work in progress. What we're going to do is, even though the podcast was having success, and I mentioned this last night, but maybe some of you weren't watching last night, so I say hello and welcome. And this is cool because most of you heard me on the radio for about 20 years. You never really got a chance to see me unless you came to one of our shows on the road, which weren't happening very often down the stretch, which, by the way, I like to go out on the road. I like to meet my people. I like to meet the public. I like to meet the listeners. I like to meet the sponsors. I like to shake hands. I like the pictures, because without the public support, you are nothing in this business. I didn't forget it, and I never will. The beauty of this podcast is I wanted to change it up. And Agnello and Sammy back at Master Control said, what do you want to do? And by the way, they were the ones who convinced me to go at around 10 p.m. on weeknights, Monday to Friday. I'll be going Monday to Thursday. Matt O'Hain will go on Fridays. Some Fridays I'm going to be with him. As a matter of fact, I intend to be with him this Friday. Okay. So they convinced me of that. Didn't take a lot of convincing because I knew they were right and I knew it was a good idea. And I actually started off at around 10 p.m. So I love this slot, to tell you the truth, because I think my personality comes out a lot more and more of the passion and energy at 10 p.m. than 10 a.m. I think it's a lot easier, especially following a game, which is pretty cool. But I wanted it to sound like a radio show. I wanted it to look like a TV show. I wanted it to be a hybrid. That's exactly what we have. And we will be taking calls. And in some cases, we're actually going to take video calls too. So if I recognize some of the callers, we'll make you log on. We'll give you a link and you can come on video. So if you want to see Peter from Côte St. Luc, you have a chance to see Peter from Côte St. Luc, who's a regular. Double shift your best players, says Peter from Côte St. Luc. God bless him. I love it when he says that. So later on in the program, we're going to take some calls. Jot down the number. Get ready. I'll tell you when you can call. 1-888-585-7425. That's 1-888-585-SICK. S-I-C-K. Agnello and Sammy back at Master Control. What's going on?
How you doing, Tony?
You're going to have to speak louder.
A lot of calls coming in already. A lot of calls coming in.
Really?
Yeah. Everybody's excited. Super game tonight.
You think I should get to one right away or what?
Oh, no, I think we should keep going. We'll wait a bit. I think we should bring in our special guests.
Who do we have?
See what they have to say.
Who are our special guests?
We have Chad and Dale from the SIG podcast, Leafs Talk.
By the way, are they a sponsor?
M&M's, no, they're not a sponsor.
Oh, well, they should be. Send this to them tomorrow. And I want a lifetime shipment of this. Maybe they can ship it via Energy Transport. All right. Now, we have Sick Media has a podcast in Toronto, correct?
Yeah, Leafs Talk. Great guys. Chad and Dale.
Chad and Dale, Leafs Talk. And what, we have them right now?
Yeah, we have them now. Let's go.
Okay, bye to you and bring them in. Chad and Dale, Leafs Talk, where are they? Hey, what's going on?
How's it going, Tony?
Introduce yourselves to our public here for the very first time on the Sick Podcast with Tony Marinaro, Chad and Dale of Leafs Talk.
That's right. I'm Chad.
Yeah, I'm Dale. Tony, just want to say off the top, man, a legend in Montreal sports radio. Thank you very much for having us on your show. I'm sure.
Listen. Don't suck up to me. I'm not going to. I'm not going to let you off the hook. Okay. The Leafs stink. They choke.
Hey, man, it's one game, Tony. Let's just take a chill pill here. It's one game.
Hold on. It's been going on since 1967 or whatever. Listen to me. I'm going to tell you a funny story. Okay. You ready?
Can't wait.
My son was playing in a soccer tournament in Vancouver last week.
I saw that.
It's the Canadian Nationals. Okay.
Saw that. Yeah.
All right. So in the semifinals, he played a team from Toronto. All right. God bless them. On Saturday, I went for a bite to eat and I saw the Blue Jays choke again.
Man.
Right. it was at that moment that I knew that my son's team was going to win that soccer game on the Sunday.
Well, no
because
doubt,
teams
man.
from Toronto, just when everything's on the line, they just can't get it done.
You think? Anyway, listen, man, I do appreciate you having us on, and honestly, I'm sure your fans are super excited to see a couple diehard Leafs fans here on a Montreal Canadiens podcast after a Habs win. I'm sure your fans want nothing more than to see that. But the truth of the matter is,
you want to see a Stanley Cup? Yes or no? Just tell me.
Well, yeah, of course we want to see a Stanley Cup.
Would do anything for it, man. Would do anything for it.
Move to Montreal. The Canadiens are going to win one before the Leafs.
Zero chance of that happening. Zero.
Oh, well, Toronto's success in the playoffs. I can understand you being so optimistic about this whole thing.
I know, and the Habs have been so successful in the last 30 years themselves, right? Like they've gone on some runs, but they haven't exactly got it done when it counts either, right? So,
as a matter of fact, in the last 30 years, they were very successful because 29 years ago they won the Stanley Cup.
Listen, 30. We're coming up on the 30-year anniversary. I'm going to get to that in a second here, but look,
we're coming up on it, but it's not there yet.
The truth is that man, it's hard being a Leafs fan. It's hard being a Toronto sports fan, period, without a doubt.
Minus the Raptors of 2019.
Yeah, the Raptors in 2019, all good. But Tony, listen, off the top here, before we get to the game and a couple other things, I just have to ask the real question that's on everybody's mind here.
Tell me, yeah.
Is there still a mouse in the house?
There's still a mouse in the house.
Okay. So
there's
Tony,
still a mouse in the house. And mouse is giving me anxiety.
Do you have a pussy cat?
I do not. I'm allergic to cats.
Okay, well, that could solve all the problems right there, man.
Yeah. But I hear you. I know it can solve all the problems, but then my allergies are going to flare up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get that. I get that.
Yeah. No, but so I've been on the case, and they say that they don't walk around in lights. So I got lights here. I got my bathroom to my right here. The lights are open there. I got my living room. The lights are open there. I got lights open in the whole house. So I would doubt that it's going to come out right now. But if it does come out and walk here, I have a feeling that we are going to go viral with this thing. Okay, but now listen. You guys, you can put on a brave face all you want. You can't.
It's one game, Tony. It's one game. It's one game.
You lost to a team that has openly said that they're rebuilding.
It's the first game. It's sloppy.
You lost to a team that has openly said that it's a development year. You lost to a team that had 4 defensemen who have a combined 16 games in the National Hockey League.
Yeah, not a good start.
Would you expect anything different from the Leafs?
Well, that's just it, right? Like, what did you think was going to happen here? Like,
so how can you expect them to get it done come playoff time then?
Well, like
after just saying that, how can you expect them to come come playoff time?
Because you have to believe in the team. And eventually, at some point, they've got to break through and they've got to do it.
I'm going to tell you something. You can believe all you want, but if they don't believe, it's not going to happen. The belief has to happen from inside that locker room. Yeah. The belief happens when teammates trust each other. The belief happens when it's a brotherhood, when it's a family. For me, the Leafs, they were built individually. They play individually. Watch the way they play tonight. They don't play as a collective unit. They play individually, and they have brain farts that are unbelievable.
Well, that's nothing new to us. That's been going on for years, right? So it is what it is. Like, but
so you guys, you plan on sticking with this? Like, you plan on continuing to live in Toronto?
Well, listen, I'll tell you.
I'm doing the Leafs podcast.
Listen, I'll tell you what.
Sure. We've been doing it our whole lives. We're going to continue to do
it. We've been doing a Leafs podcast for the last 4 years.
Is that right?
We came to Sick Media to do a new show, the Sick Podcast Leafs Talk. They've been expanding, right? So they've got some.
Those guys are treating you good or what? Tell me the truth.
Oh yeah, great, the best. Honestly, yeah, okay. Absolutely.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah,
Sammy especially.
Yeah, 100%. Like really, really good. So
I'm still stuck at minimum wage, but other than that, it's all good. They're nice guys. You know, listen. You know, I'm stuck at minimum wage.
We don't get M&Ms though.
No, that's
you get free M&Ms. This is.
I actually bought these at the gas station today.
Oh, all right.
I don't even know why I bought them at the gas station because there was a store right next to it where it was like a third of the price. But I was too lazy to go to the store. M&Ms, just send me some, okay?
Yeah,
it's the best endorsement that you've received in I don't know how long.
Come on, M&Ms, get on it. But look, man, honestly, like the Sick podcast is expanding. They're trying to open to different markets. Yeah. They realize how large the market in Toronto is and how many crazy Leafs fans they are, regardless of how many failures the team has. Like the Leafs fans are still there, right? So it's smart on the Sick podcast to do that, and that's it.
That's very smart. You think Dubas going to get fired this year? Yes or no?
Personally, no.
I think if they,
hold on. So when you say personally, I mean, what, you're taking it personal? What do you mean? I asked you a question.
I don't think so. No.
And you're telling me personally. I mean, personally, you're answering personally, professionally. Who do you want to? You want to ask somebody else? Like, well, what's going on here? And who did you put on my podcast? You told me I'm putting on 2 experts from Toronto. You put on Larry Curly. The only Mo is missing. What's going on here? I ask him a question. He tells me personally, no.
Well, do you think Dubas is going to get fired?
No.
Okay, well, I feel that I share the same opinion. Yeah. But we'll see. Time will tell. I mean, it's possible. If they have an absolute disaster here and they can't get it figured out, then good chance he will get fired.
We'll see if he's going to get fired. There's expert analysis coming from Toronto. We'll see, he says. Yes, we'll see everything. And can hold on. What's your buddy's name again? What's his name? What's his name?
Me?
You.
I'm Chad.
You're Chad. Okay, let me go to Chad because you're not making any sense. Chad, Dubas going to get fired or what?
Yes.
He's going to get fired.
Because if history repeats itself and they get bounced in the first round, you can't bring him back.
All right. Now, if it gets tight around the collar and they start losing to teams that they're supposed to beat.
They always lose to teams they're supposed to.
Will he fire his coach? That's
just it.
Will he fire his coach to say
no, he won't fire his coach. He won't even trade guys on the team who don't play well because he loves them so much. Did you see the last play in the game tonight, Justin Hall?
Did I see the last play in the game? No, I didn't watch the game at all. I'm only going to go on here on the Sick podcast for the next hour to talk about my M&Ms, my hockey stick, and my mouse that's on the loose.
Tony.
Did I see how the game ended?
Tony, it was, you know exactly what I meant. Did you see the last play with Justin Hall reaching his stick in, not getting back there, Jake Muzzin, the two of them not really getting back there.
Yeah.
The Leaf fans, if you live in Toronto, Justin Hall, we've been calling for this guy to be shipped out of town. He will not do it. And I think in the end, that's going to bite him in the ass. Yeah. That's going to bite Kyle Dubas in the ass.
All right. Okay. They have no commitment to defense, that team. They're a very unbalanced team. The way they were made was unbalanced. It's an individual approach. And by the way, I like John Tavares. He's a good hockey player, but they should have never done that. They should have, first of all, extended Matthews and Marner and Nylander before they signed Tavares, because then those guys and their agents were saying, hold on a second, you just gave John Tavares 11 years, $77 million. That's number one. And number two, they shouldn't have gone out and signed them anyway, because they needed to take that $11 million a year, pump it into a defenseman, pump it into a goalie to create more balance. They didn't need a second line centerman when they had Kadri. Do I have to explain everything to everyone in Toronto?
No, we've been on that, but let me ask you a straight up question.
You've been on that because you heard me talking about it. So you're just repeating what I was saying.
No, that's not the case. But I'm gonna tell you what right now. If John Tavares, let's be serious here, he chose the Toronto Maple Leafs. If John Tavares wanted to go when he signed with the Leafs as a free agent and he left Long Island, if he would have chose the Montreal Canadiens, what do you think the Habs would have done? Do you think they would have said no at that time? If John Tavares wanted to go and play for the Montreal Canadiens, do you think the Habs would have said no thanks?
No, they would have signed them.
So there you go.
Yeah, but the Canadiens didn't have Austin Matthews as their number one centerman, and that's why Toronto should not have signed them.
Yeah, I get it.
This was a lot of fun. I've been told that the lines are blazing, so we're going to get to them. But once again, why don't you give a shout out, Chad and Dale, Leafs lunch. Is that what it is?
Leafs Talk.
Pardon me, Leafs Talk. Yeah, Leafs Talk. I forget about Leafs Talk podcast with Sick Media. So what's the actual name? It's Leafs Talk with Chad and Dale. What is it exactly?
It's Sick Podcast Leafs Talk.
My God, what a name. Fantastic.
Yeah, and then you can just find us on all social media at the Sick Podcast Leafs Talk and check us out wherever you get your podcast from.
Are you doing something like I'm doing here and going live after the games or anything like that? No,
not yet.
Not yet.
But that could be a plan, huh?
Yeah.
We'll see how it goes, like down the road.
Pretty good strategy.
We'll see how the season goes for the Leafs. Like, I still think the Leafs are a good regular season team, and they will get it figured out. With the Montreal Canadiens, I mean, where are they at? Are they going to be maybe not as bad as people thought? Can you take that out of this one game? I don't think you can, but maybe they like, I still think you got to put the Chicago Blackhawks up there, the Arizona Coyotes, the Philadelphia Flyers, the Seattle Kraken. Like, I don't see Montreal at the basement. I don't see it personally. I think there's worse teams than the Habs kicking around here. So maybe the Habs are going to surprise some teams, and we'll see. But I think ultimately, am I going to go crazy here after one loss from the Leafs? No, man. I think the Leafs will settle in, and they'll probably be fine once they get going. And then we'll see in the spring, what do they fail again, or do they actually do something?
Yeah, they're going to
see. We'll see.
Oh, yeah, they're going to do something in the spring. Hey, Chad and Dale, you sound like pretty good guys, even though it's a lost hope with your hockey team. And don't forget, the best thing from Toronto is the highway back to Montreal. Have a good one, guys.
It's the brass rail. Have a good one, Tony.
Have a good one, guys. Chad and Dale.
Thanks for having us on, Tony. Appreciate it.
Tony.
Podcast, Leafs Talk. Take it easy. Good guys. Check them out. All right. Okay. We're going to get to your phone call. Cole Caulfield. My God. If you are the Philadelphia Flyers, Cole Caulfield, by the way, had 1 goal through 30 games last year. He had 2 of them tonight. I'll take you back to the draft several years ago. And Cole Caulfield is still on the board. He plays with the U.S. National Development Program. And right before the Montreal Canadiens are going to draft, it's the Philadelphia Flyers. And they're having a draft party at a sports bar in Philadelphia, which clearly is nowhere close to La Cage. These are the images. Take a look at this.
With the ultra power move.
They can support that. You don't want to be small, you don't want offensive ability. So, to me, and 5 Americans, my assessment of Cole Caulfield, the best goal scorer in is proud to select from the U.S. national team.
They took a guy who was part of the same program. They took a guy who was part of the same team, Cam York, with the only difference being is that the Philadelphia Flyers sent Cam York down to the American Hockey League, and Cole Caulfield is lighting it up with the Montreal Canadiens. My God, you see, the Canadiens don't always get their draft picks wrong. And by the way, tonight, I think of Trevor Timmins, and no one, especially in the French media, is going to talk about that because they didn't like Trevor Timmins very much. And they always told you about all the mistakes that he made, but they never really told you about all the good things that he did. And tonight they're going to pretend like this never happened. But back in the day when the Canadiens drafted Caden Guhle, there was like, what was it? There was chaos going on in this city and in this province because Hendrix Lapierre was available, and the Canadiens should have gone after Hendrix Lapierre because he's so good. And I wish Hendrix Lapierre a very good career. He's the player, by the way, who eventually was selected by the Washington Capitals. But there was a concussion issue there, and there was a neck injury, which some people thought was another concussion. His doctors were saying that it was a neck injury, or the team was saying it was a neck injury, or his representatives and stuff like that. I wish him a very good and very long and very prosperous career. But all those people that made a big, big mess about the Canadiens taking Caden Guhle over Hendrix Lapierre, where are they now? I don't hear you. Now, one game doesn't make a season, but I'm going to tell you something. The story of this hockey game tonight, for me, is Caden Guhle, because we already know what Cole Caulfield can bring. We already know that Suzuki and Caulfield are an amazing duo. As a matter of fact, we even saw it versus the Toronto Maple Leafs in the playoffs a couple of years ago, and we saw it last season. The second that St. Louis came in, Caulfield started lighting it up. I mean, I just told you, he's got the 4th most goals since St. Louis took over. but Caden Guhle hadn't played a game in the National Hockey League yet. Here's a player who went from junior hockey to the National Hockey League, played his first game, played in Montreal, home opener. You would think he's battling some nerves. You would think this is a hockey city. This is a pressure city. All eyes are on you. You're going up against Toronto. You're going up against Matthews. You're going up against Marner. You're going up against Tavares. You're going up against Nylander. You're going up against Riley. You're going up against Kerfoot. You're going up against all of them. And you play 22 minutes and 34 seconds, and you play 3 minutes and 43 seconds on the penalty kill, and you play the way you played. You were an even on the night versus the Toronto Maple Leafs. You were an even. And another great story was Jordan Harris, who actually picked up an assist. He had a point. He was a +2 in the hockey game, played a little bit less, of course, 1941. He was another amazing story. I need you to think about this for a second. Caden Guhle, drafted by Trevor Timmins. Jordan Harris, drafted by Trevor Timmins. Cole Caulfield, drafted by Trevor Timmins. These 3 young players were absolutely unbelievable tonight. Unbelievable. But no one's going to talk about that. They'll talk about the players, but they won't talk about Trevor Timmins. Anyway, I say, even though Trevor Timmins got a lot of picks wrong, and he got a lot of picks right, the development was the biggest problem the Canadiens had, or lack thereof. And they weren't able to develop Kotkaniemi. They weren't able to develop Galchenyuk. They weren't able to develop Tenorti. They weren't able to develop McCarron. And maybe Tenorti was not a great pick, and maybe McCarron wasn't a great pick. Tenorti at 22 and McCarron at 25, I believe. But they could have developed him better. And maybe Louis LeBlanc wasn't a great pick, but they could have developed him better. And by the way, I don't think Louis LeBlanc was a Trevor Timmins pick. I think it was more of a Pierre Boivin pick, and that's why he picked him. And I think they drafted Tenorti and McCarron because Trevor felt the heat that they needed to add big players to the team. And I also think he drafted Galchenyuk and Kotkaniemi because he felt that he had to add centermen. So in most of the cases where he went wrong, I think he was actually felt the heat or the pressure of having to take certain players. Now, Andre Kostitsyn was the wrong pick at number 10. And David Fisher was the wrong pick over Claude Giroux. That's for sure. But man, Caden Guhle, he got it right. What a pick. Agnello, we're going to get to some calls here or what? You tell me that the lines are blazing. I'll get to them.
Let's go.
Let's go. All right. Okay. Why don't we do this? The segment is called You Called, and it's brought to you by Playground, your premier gaming destination located just over the Mercier Bridge, only minutes from downtown Montreal. You can call us at 1-888-585-SICK. Agnello, where are we going?
You called. Presented by Playground Poker.
Where are we going exactly? We are going to, why don't we just, we're going to Brock from New Brunswick. Brock, what's going on? Brock, are you there?
Tony.
Hey, Brock, what's going on, my man?
Can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can, my man. How are you doing?
But hold on a second. Brock, you remind me of my mother in a way that when she calls her cousin in Italy, she screams and she says, "Can you hear me?" And I look at her and I said, Mom, you don't have to speak loud just because it's a long distance call. Yeah. Brock, tell me why. Brock, tell me why exactly.
Canada, my man.
I beg your pardon?
From Canada.
Yeah, you're calling from Canada. Yeah.
Yeah, East Coast. Man, Tony, listen.
Yeah.
Listen, that's all I have to say. All I have to say tonight, okay?
Yeah. Now, have you and I spoken in the past or what? What's the story here?
Rebuild, fine. We like it. We like it. Everybody likes it. It's the best thing to say right now. We like it.
Yeah.
What? Come on. Bell Center, opening night. Montreal Canadiens beat the Toronto Maple Leafs. Come on.
Yeah, you know what? I have to admit, as much as I want to
Montreal fan, we love it.
Yeah. As much as I want to rebuild, I have. Oh, but this guy doesn't stop talking. Agnello, where did you find this guy? He hasn't stopped talking.
Hey, Tony, we had 3 friends over. They were Leaf fans. They left.
I don't have friends that are Leafs fans. That's the difference between you and I. You understand? Agnello, where did you find this guy? I tell him we're opening up the phone lines. He puts on a guy who hasn't stopped talking. Brock, have you and I talked before in the past, yes or no?
Honestly, man, probably years ago, but I haven't.
No. There's no probably. When somebody talks to Tony Marinaro, they remember when they talked to him. There's no probably. They probably end up writing it down in their notebook or their memo book. They probably even end up sending themselves a text message or an email saying, on this day at this time, I talked to Marinaro. You want to know why? Because I'm Montreal Sports Authority. I always was, and I always will be. And guess what? They know it, Brock. I gotta go. This guy doesn't stop talking.
All right.
I'll get rid of this guy. He's still talking. And Yellow, I'm gonna fire you if you don't get rid of this guy, even though you own the company. He's gone. I tell him get rid of this guy, and the guy is still chirping away. Me, afraid the Leafs try to get. Does it give me a chance to talk? Usually, when I talk, I get paid. People want to hear me. More I talk, more I get paid. Let's go to Rodney. Rodney's calling from Alaska. Listen to me. This is the Sick Podcast, all right? Somebody called in from New Brunswick, Brock. Now I got Rodney from Alaska. This is the difference between me and all the rest. You understand? I'm cut from a different cloth. I'm a different breed. With me, people call from all over the world. Do you understand? With the others, they call from their backyard, their basement, their neighbor, the guy across the street, or they don't call at all. Marinaro's the show. People from all over the world talk about me. Rodney, what's going on?
How you doing, buddy?
If you were me, how would you be doing? I work 13 minutes of radio per day, 12 minutes of television, and I get to talk here on the podcast after the Canadiens game. Who's better than me? Nobody.
I'm telling you, that's pretty awesome.
Thank you.
Toronto's even better.
Even better.
Yes, sir. I mean, I feel the same way. I mean, we definitely need to go through a rebuild and everything. And beating Toronto and teams like Boston, those are acceptable. But if we lose otherwise, that's fine. And I'll tell you what, your show is sick, and I love it.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
You know, I knew it was sick. I knew it was sick when it started. I knew it was going to be sick, and they didn't like it. I don't want to. One day I'm going to talk. One day I'm going to talk. One day I'm going to open up. Different strokes for different folks, different rules. You can't. No, you can. Nobody listens or nobody wants. Bye-bye. Ciao.
Hey, you take care, buddy.
Right. See you later. I told him, it's too late. I'm leaving. Ciao. But I'm still here now. Sick Podcast. Where are we going exactly here? Where are we going? We need a monitor so I can know exactly who's calling from where. By the way, I have this space here in my room. I need a TV. I got to give Sony a call. I need a nice projection, a nice TV screen, a nice smart TV screen right up over here. Joe from Ontario. Listen. Brock from New Brunswick. Rodney from Alaska. Joe from Ontario at 1-888-585-7425. Obviously, it's toll free. It's 1-888-585-SICK. Joe, what's going on?
Tony, love your show.
Thank you.
I watched the game tonight, and I'll tell you, that's entertainment. The young guns were working hard.
Yeah,
and they kept the big guns from Toronto at bay.
Yeah.
I think they're heading in the right direction.
Yeah. No, the game was entertaining. This is what I want, Joe. This is what I want. Give me entertainment. I like people that get me excited about the project. You understand? I've decided for the rest of my life now, time is money, and we don't have a lot of time on our hands. We don't know how much time we have. I want to be entertained for the rest of my life. The boring stuff, I don't want that anymore. Do you understand? I want to have, if I'm going to watch sports, get me excited about the project. The Canadiens got me excited tonight. And to the Maple Leafs credit, they opened up the game because they don't know how to play tight hockey. And it was fun. It was fun. And, the Canadiens beat the Leafs, and that's always fun. And
No, and when you get a penalty shot, Jake Allen comes up big, and the big penalty kill at the end. This was the kind of thing that makes a Habs fan feel better than that they have since the last season.
Yeah. No face-offs for Kirby Dach, by the way. I don't know if you noticed that, so I don't know if his wrist is still hurting him, but they didn't make him take any face-offs. Hey, you know what was cool? Brendan Gallagher is finally healthy, okay? He's got an extra gear. Did you see that? He has...
Oh, my God, that breakaway when he pulled away from those D-men.
When was the last time that Brendan Gallagher pulled away and had an extra gear? Appreciate taking the time to call. Thanks so much, Joe from Ontario. Why don't we show the lineup the Canadiens had tonight? For those who missed it and you're just tuning in right now, and by the way, subscribe to the YouTube channel of the Sick Podcast. It's absolutely free. You can't go wrong. Subscribe to our Facebook page. Subscribe to our Twitter handle at the Sick Podcast. And if you subscribe on YouTube the way I told you, you're going to be notified every time we go live. And it's our intention to go live weeknights at 10 p.m. or right after the hockey game was the case tonight. At some point, we might even go on when the hockey game is still on, and I'll have a TV set up, and I'll actually maybe even give you the play-by-play. Why not? Suzuki was in between Caulfield on his left and Josh Anderson on his right. Dach was centering Monahan on his left and Hoffman on his right, but he did not take any faceoffs. Dvorak had Slavkovsky on his left and Gallagher on his right, and Evans was in between Pitlick on his left and Dadonov on his right. On defense, Guhle and Savard, Harris and Kovacevic and Jacky and Weidman. And, of course, Jake Allen was in goal for the Montreal Canadiens. Slavkovsky did not get a lot of ice time. 10:34 was the ice time. No time on the penalty kill. Hey, I trust the Montreal Canadiens that they know what they're doing. And clearly they, their strategy with Slavkovsky is going to be not to give him too much and to just, every 10 games or so, maybe bump him up a good 30 seconds or so. And so with that reasoning, by the end of the year, he'll probably be bumped up 3 or 4 minutes more. And instead of playing 10:34, he might actually get to 14:34 or whatever it is. But he was the one that got the least ice. Maybe I wouldn't say he was uncomfortable, but clearly they thought maybe that, they were better off bringing him slowly but surely. Nice and slow. See, that's the way. Nice and slow. If you're a fan of the Flintstones, you know exactly what I'm talking about, because I believe that was a term coined in the nice and slow. I don't remember which episode. If you know, you can actually tell me. Now, why don't we open up the phone lines again? Louis Philippe is in Houston, or is he calling me from? What's the story? What was that? What are you putting up over here? You're bringing us behind the scenes here. You're showing us all our data and stuff. Louis Philippe, is that you?
Way, Tony. How's it going?
Very good. When you said "way, Tony," veux-tu me parler en français ou quoi?
Hey, ça fait du bien. Je sais pas si tu peux parler en français or in English. But,
écoute, moi, je suis prêt à parler en français. I'm ready to speak in English. Sono pronto a parlarti in italiano. Me gusta mucho hablar español.
En español, sí. Hey, I tweeted at you the other day saying how great it was to see somebody play, innovate and do a bilingual approach in Montreal. I think that's such an untapped market. Congratulations on getting it.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So much fun. Should have made the move a long time ago. 5 years ago, they approached me. I should have made it then.
Smart business and good for the fans.
Well, it was a smart business for me 5 years ago because I stayed at a loyalty. What a dummy I was.
Well, I moved
working a 3-hour show, prepping for 3 hours, going in an hour and a half early, yada yada yada, doing post-game shows, pipi, papa, mimi, coco. This is the best. 8:05, I'm on the air. I wake up at 7:30. I log on to Zoom at 7:45. I go on at 8:05. At 8:18, I'm off. Boom, that's it. Day of work over.
Yeah.
It was better than me.
I'm an out-of-towner, and people like you, help us keep attached to Montreal. So anyway, also,
yeah. Anyways, yeah.
Congrats on your boys. I heard your thing on the show yesterday.
Thank you. Yeah, Marco won the Canadian National Championship. He and his team, Club de Soccer Saint Laurent, won the Nationals, and I'm very, very proud of the team. I'm very proud of him. It was beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
you know who's got to be really happy tonight is Mr. Jeff Molson. You couldn't
100%.
have asked, if you were Mr. Molson, you couldn't have asked for a better start to a season. They could lose 10 in a row, but now there's buzz, right?
Louis Philippe, this is the template that you want. You want to show your fans, we are going to play this way. You're not always going to win. But you know what? If you play this way, I'll go to your games. I'll buy tickets. This is what I want to see.
And if you're a restaurant owner, you know, you're like, I'm going to Montreal this weekend. We didn't know what to do on Saturday. Heck, I think we might go and, you know, go to a Trois Brassards or a Casual Spar, you know, and go catch.
Whoa. You go to La Cage.
I heard it's really good. So
Montreal's #1 sports bar, La Cage. You tell me where you want to go. You want to go to DeCarry? I'll set it up. You want to go to the Bell Center location? I'll set it up. LaSalle, wherever you want to go, I'll set it up for you. That's the place to go. You come to Montreal, you want to take in the sports, you want to take in the hockey, you go to La Cage. Thanks for calling. I got to go.
You bet.
Louis Philippe from Houston, Joe from Ontario, Rodney from Alaska, Brock from New Brunswick. Well, is everyone moving out of Montreal or what? Oh, we got something. Well, we got somebody. Hold on a second. Giuseppe from RDP. Giuseppe, what's going on? Giuseppe, are you there?
Yes, I'm here, Tony. How you doing?
Who's better than me? Nobody.
I'm good, Tony. I'm excited about the game tonight.
Yeah, he asked me how I'm doing, and then he tells me he's good. Giuseppe, how are you exactly?
I'm pretty good. You know.
Yeah, good. I'm happy to hear it, Giuseppe.
Tony, sorry I didn't ask you.
No. It's okay. I'm happy to hear that you're good, Giuseppe.
I'm good, man. I can't complain.
Live from RDP, huh?
Yeah, RDP. You said it.
All kinds, bro.
Tony, do you recognize my voice? I called you on the radio station a couple of times.
Yeah. How many times did you call me at that radio station exactly? Tell me how many times you called.
I got through 2-3 times.
You got through 2 or 3 times. All right. So I was on the air for 20 years. I probably took about 8,000 calls. You got through 2 or 3 times. Of course I recognize your voice, Giuseppe. Why wouldn't I?
I got you, Tony. No problem, man.
Yeah, who are you hanging out with right now? Because I hear someone else in the background. Who are you with exactly?
No, I'm alone. I'm with my dog. My daughter and my wife are sleeping.
Oh, you're with your dog, and your daughter and your wife are sleeping. All right, dog, man's best friend. Yeah, did the dog watch the game with you?
Yeah, of course, all the time.
Yeah, Canadiens fan, your dog or no?
I think so. It's hard to tell, but I think so.
Yeah, why didn't you? Oh my God, I thought I heard.
Well, Tony, I was excited with the young guys. You know, they impressed me. You know, I wasn't expecting what I saw, especially with Guhle. Guhle was really, really good.
My God, Guhle's unbelievable. Guhle was unbelievable. Oh, yeah. Do you know what it means to play your first game in the National Hockey League at home versus the Toronto Maple Leafs, the opener, going up against world-class talent like Matthews and Marner and Tavares and Nylander, and playing more minutes than any other player on your team and finishing even and playing almost 4 minutes of penalty kill? Do you know what that means to play the way he played with the calm and poise and the decision-making?
It's really special. I know it's too early to say, you know, it's the first game of the year.
But it doesn't matter that it's too early to say, Giuseppe, just say it. Those who are scared of giving opinions, you know what I mean? Like, I want opinions on the show. You know, like I told you, you reminded me of a young Larry Robinson. He may never come close to Larry Robinson, but I said it anyway because, you know, there's going to be a lot of reaction. People, Marinaro just compared him to Larry Robinson, this and that. And then, you know what? It has people talking. You know what I mean?
Oh, I hope so, man. I loved Larry. Larry was amazing.
Larry Robinson, one of the greatest, if not the greatest defenseman in the history of the Montreal Canadiens. I mean, it's debatable, obviously. Larry Robinson, Doug Harvey, Serge Savard, but Larry Robinson, a different breed. You know what I mean? The big bird.
Yeah.
My father to this day says that the day Larry Robinson gave Dave Schultz a beating was one of the greatest days in my father's life.
Yeah.
You remember that fight?
To be honest with you, no. I didn't. I don't
when you say to be honest with me, prior to me bringing that up, were you not being honest with me, or?
I'm always honest with you.
So why did you have to say to be honest with me? You don't remember? I don't understand.
Because I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to lie to you just.
Well, no, but I don't expect you to lie to me, so you don't have to preface it by saying to be honest. Let's go under the understanding that we're being honest with each other, so we don't have to say it. Back then, there was the Broad Street Bullies. You remember they won the Stanley Cup in 1974 and 1975. They did it on intimidation hockey. And in 1976, the Canadiens wanted to bring an end to that. So they had the likes of the Bouchards, the Lupiens, the Robinsons of this world. Larry Robinson gave Dave Schultz a beating. The Canadiens beat the Philadelphia Flyers 4 straight games. Guhle was unbelievable the way he always has been. The Flower. I have the chair right there. Look, signed by the Flower. God bless him. God rest his soul. We got to go. Giuseppe from RDP. You call me anytime, buddy. All right?
All right. Thanks a lot. Take care, Tony.
All right. Okay. Now, we've gone over an hour here. Can we go back to Master Control and Agnello and Sammy and then come back? Can I do that or I can't do that? I'm still trying to find my way here with this whole podcast thing. You know what I mean? There we go. Okay. Listen, Agnello, you and I, we had a contract at the beginning of the year, correct?
Yep.
We had a contract. You told me you wanted me to go on at around 10 p.m., correct?
Correct.
All right. Tonight I went on later because the game wasn't over at 10 p.m. exactly. I went on a few minutes later, correct?
Correct.
Perfect. The understanding was that I go on for an hour, correct?
Correct.
We've gone over an hour now. Do you pay overtime, yes or no?
For you, time and a half.
Why don't we ask the guy with all the money? Sammy.
Yeah.
My buddy Sammy Cavallaro. Sammy, you know I love you, all right? But there's a mortgage on this house, all right? I'm going to go overtime for...
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow The Sick Podcast with Tony Marinaro on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts. The Sick Podcast is brought to you by Energy Transportation Group, driven to be different, 8.6, intense by nature, and La Cage. If the last time you went to La Cage was when the Habs won the Cup, it's time you went back to La Cage. The menu will surprise you.